Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my Booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. Now we've come to the letter S in the alphabetical tags. S is for socks, S is for strawberries, S is for a singing seal. S is also for science fiction. Which science fiction writer have you read the most books by? I'm not exactly sure. I think it's probably, for me, Robert Silverberg. I've read about 14 or 15 books by him, but I've also read a similar number by Clifford Simak and by Isaac Asimov. S is for Star Trek. Which is your favourite Star Trek series? For me, it'll be the original Star Trek series. This is the one that I know, one I'm familiar with. I've hardly seen any series apart from the original series. I did download a book, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations. This connects to the Trouble of Tribbles in the original series. I'm just now watching the first episode of Deep Space Nine to get me an idea of the characters in Deep Space Nine. S is for Scrabble, Simka, Stalin, Shelley, school stories. S is for school story. What's your favourite book set in a school? There have been many. A lot of middle grade books are set in school, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Of course, the Harry Potter books, other books like Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. A lot of the beginning of that was set in a boarding school. There's Mallory Towers by Enid Blyton. But I think my favourite school story would be Matilda. Matilda has a nice teacher, Miss Honey, and a terrible principal teacher, Trunchbull, who's like built like an East German athlete and is terrible to the kids. This would be my favourite school story. S is for satire. What is your favourite fictional satire? I could choose George Orwell here. Animal Farm and 1984 were both satires. There's also Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5, but I think I would choose Joseph Heller's Catch-22. It's very amusing. We look at our anti-hero Yossarian, and the whole book is about the absurdity of war. In the art tag we had a log cabin prompt, and here we have another log cabin prompt. Imagine you're in a log cabin without internet, without your Kindle. And this time there are 4 books, all connected with the letter S. There's Scarlet Sins by Dane Cobain, The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, The Accidental by Ali Smith, and City by Clifford D. Simak. Now, which book of these 4 would you choose to read? Which book of these would you give as a present to another booktuber? Which of these would you burn because it's a bit chilly in this cabin and you need the heat? And which would you just leave in the cabin when you go? S is for John Steinbeck. I know Steve Donahue is not a fan of John Steinbeck. Steinbeck being one of those dude bros of the middle of the 20th century. But I like Steinbeck. Which is your favourite Steinbeck novel? For me, this would be East of Eden, which would also be my candidate for the great American novel. It's more optimistic than his books like Cannery Row or The Grapes of Wrath, or Of Mice and Men even. John Steinbeck won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1962, and he even visited Georgia back in 1947 when it was part of the Soviet Union, and he writes a few pages about Georgia in a Russian journal. S is for Sartre, the famous existentialist. I haven't read any Sartre. My question to you is Sartre worth reading? I've read Camus. I enjoyed Camus, particularly L'étranger, The Outsider.
S. S is for Solzhenitsyn, Shafak, Socks, Sheep, Silverberg, Sci-Fi, Star Trek, Steinbeck, Short Stories, Sapiens, Scotland, Shakespeare.
S is for Shakespeare. What's your favourite Shakespeare play, this being Shakespeare? My favourite would be Othello. What was the last Shakespeare play you saw at the theatre? I have to go back a very long way, maybe 15 years, when I saw Romeo and Juliet at the Swan Theatre in Stratford. Stratford is where Shakespeare was born, and here's a picture of me in Stratford. S is for Stalin. Now, Stalin was a monster, but does he have any redeeming qualities? He's probably the most famous Georgian, and many of his compatriots are proud of the fact that he came from Georgia and came to rule over the Soviet Union, this big Russian empire. But he did no favours for Georgian writers. The purge of Georgian writers in 1937 was quite severe and exceptional, and the Georgian Writers' Union was called upon by Beria to single out and incriminate the members of their own union for liquidation by the NKVD. The theatre director Akhmeteli once ordered Beria out of a rehearsal, and for that he had to pay for his life. A lot of Georgian writers, if you look, their lives ended in 1937 at the height of Stalin's purges. S is for short story. In this Stone Mattress by Margaret Atwood there are 9 short stories. What size story do you like to read, and does size matter? Personally, I like a novel that's about 250 pages long, about this size, 250 to 300 pages long. With short stories I get a little frustrated because I just get into the story and then it's finished. I have read some larger books this year, like Anna Karenina, which is over 800 pages, and shortly I'll be starting Little Dorrit, which is another chunker. This is 770 pages. S is for subscribers. Thank you. I now have over 500 subscribers, which is a great surprise to me. There will be some additional bonus prompts in the description if you want more prompts. Who do I tag? There's lots of great booktubers with channels or names beginning with S. I will tag Steve Donahue, who's been religiously doing all of these tags. I tag Roz at Scallydandling about the books. Sophia Clay. Sean at Sean the Book Maniac. Claudia at Spinster's Library. Shelley Swearingen. Jay Scully of Scully's Thrillers. And Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe below, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.